Hello and welcome to History Soaps You Name It, where I bring you all the best content from your favourite historical topics, dramas and anything else that takes your fancy. This video is a biography of a figure I think is much neglected by some historians and lacks enough attention by YouTubers. The first king of Ailech, Eogan mac Neill. So who was Eogan mac Neill? And more importantly, where on earth is Ailech? You've probably only heard of it if you live in the Donegal area or anywhere else in Ireland, or maybe if you have an interest in the medieval Irish royal families, that is, the ones which are eclipsed by the English monarchs who took over the land centuries later. If you're feeling totally puzzled, don't worry, I'm about to answer all the questions teeming in your head. The kings of Ailech existed as the over-kings of Ailech. Ailech itself was a province in Ireland that was one of the 5 provinces of Ireland during the early Middle Ages. It was situated in northwestern Ireland. These over-kings wielded sovereignty or power over inferior kings and ruling powers, consolidating their leadership through various battles and marriage alliances. Ailech included the areas which belonged to the Neill and Eogan, a branch of the northern Neill that claimed lineage which traced back to Eogan mac Neill himself and his infamous father, Neill of the Nine Hostages, or Neill na Wigialach, a fabled Irish king, and those controlled by the Neill Conaill, another branch of the northern Neill, who had Conall Gulban, a different son of Neill of the Nine Hostages, as its founder. One of the most significant battles fought between these rival branches of Irish royalty took place in the year 789. This battle, termed by historians the Battle of Cloytech, which reportedly means to follow in Irish, was between Ailech's king Eogan, representing the Neill and Eogan, and the Neill Conaill, whose representative I have sadly been unable to ascertain. The agreed outcome was a winner-takes-all approach. Whoever won would gain full autonomy over the northern Neill. King Eogan emerged as a glorious hero, triumphing against his Neill Conaill kin, with the latter being confined to their sole sub-kingdom, Tir Conaill. This battle led to the naming of the very kingdom whose rulers I am about to explore. From 789, it was renamed Ailech after decades as In Focla, or In Cave. It is intriguing to consider if this new national label was because they had founded the Royal Hill Fort in modern Donegal, or because they had been able to move to a more grand residence. Alternatively, its meaning may be metaphorical, and it could have something to do with the fact that they had no concerns about their ambitions being caved, at least for the time being, and a glorious new kingdom required an equally fitting and brilliant name. The Grianan of Ailech is the best known royal hill fort of Ailech, and has been dated to around the 6th or 7th century. This fort, its history and use will be further explored when I begin my Royal Residences series. These remains offer us a tantalising glimpse into the past, and are located in County Donegal, the modern Republic of Ireland. Who was Eogan mac Neill na Wigialach? Prince Eogan mac Neill na Wigialach was born in Ireland during the late 4th or early 5th century to Queen Rignach and King Neill of the Nine Hostages. At the time of his birth, Eogan already had at least one older half-sibling, Fiachu, who was the only issue of his father's first marriage. It can be theorised that his parents had about 3 children of their own by the time of Eogan's birth. They were Loigier, Endai and Main. Following his birth, his parents would go on to have a further 3 sons, Conall Gulban, Conall Cremthane and Quartray, making Eogan one of Niall's 8 total sons. Eogan would go on to become extremely close to his brother Conall Gulban, and it seems likely that these bonds would have been formed in childhood. The education of Irish princes is vague, and due to the limited information available at the time, most of their methods would probably seem foreign to us. Yet it can be assumed that Prince Eogan was taught military skills, swordsmanship and maybe horse riding, as well as being brought up as a Celtic pagan. Christianity was not brought to Ireland until 431, and even then it would take until the 7th century before it became fully established. Eogan and his other brother Loigier would be instrumental in its spread and adoption. Perhaps the princes were also taught music. Instruction on instruments such as the Wicklow pipes, bodhran and Celtic harp, or something similar, would only be mildly surprising. The education of Irish nobles and royals in the early Middle Ages is difficult to envisage, and can only ever be mere speculation until such time as further records are found. Gaelic was in all probability his mother tongue. So, how did a fifth son of an Irish king go from this to becoming the first king of Ailech? His true path to the throne is unclear, but it was likely through the usual parade of alliances and wars. Eogan, upon becoming king, founded the Neill and Eogan, or Kindred of Eogan, branch of the northern Neill, which in turn created the kingdom of Infocla. Despite this being the official name of Ailech until 789, to simplify things I'm going to just refer to it as Ailech from now on. Ailech in the 11th century went on to become Tir Eogan, and this stretched over the greater majority of Ulster, one of the remaining 4 Irish provinces. The exact existence of King Eogan is debatable. This is due to the scant records left behind and the length of time that separates us and him. The name Eogan is Irish for Owen, which means young warrior and noble born, both of which are very apt for Eogan. The Celtic version, however, seems to mean born of yew. Yew is a symbol of immortality, and kings were often perceived and or honoured as immortal. The Inishowen Peninsula was named after him. The latter part of his name, that is MacNeill, means son of Neill, which indicates that he was the son of Neill of the 9 Hostages. King Eogan would become a bosom companion of St Patrick, Ireland's patron saint, and even got given Patrick's blessing. This makes him the antithesis of his brother Loigier, who underwent a rivalry with St Patrick. This must have placed Eogan in a rather awkward position, for he was caught in the crossfire between his best friend and his brother. Yet he seems to have managed not to alienate either of them, proving in 440 Eogan and his brother, Loigier, were both chosen to judge the case regarding the debated succession to Amalgaid, King of Connaught. By then, his brother had been in the High Kingship for about 12 or so years. The deceased King of Connaught's sons were all desperately trying to assert dominance in the land left to them, which was Tir Amalgaid in northwest Connaught. They would have hardly been chosen to judge such a case had they been at odds. In 452, King Eogan's father Neill died. Following this, the tragedies would keep coming for him. Loigier was forced off the Irish throne 6 years later and died in 462. But it wasn't until Conall Gulban died in 464 that all hope was lost. Losing his favourite brother plunged the king into a deep grief, so deep that it severely undermined his health. Unfortunately, kings of the day, and really anyone, couldn't afford to do that, for medical care at the time was utter nonsense. Without the grief counselling, medications and support of today, poor Eogan was doomed. He lingered on for another year before finally succumbing to his grief in 465 and dying. Today, doctors may state that the king perished due to a legitimate and specific medical condition called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy or heartbreak syndrome. The doctors say is dying of broken heart. Despite its rareness, it still occurs, and the physicians of the day wouldn't have even known what they were dealing with, let alone how to treat it. Eogan was laid to rest in St Patrick's Church, Iskaheen, in Inishowen, Donegal. There is a plaque there that states, Eogan, Prince of Innis Eogan, son of Neill of the 9 Hostages, died 465 of grief for his brother Conall Gulban. Baptised by Patrick and buried in Uisi Chaowen. Eogan left behind 3 sons, Muadach mac Eogan, who succeeded him as king of Ailech, Fergus mac Eogan, founder of the Neill Fergusa, and Ancusa, founder of the Neill Ancusa. It is unknown who their mother was. Right, that's all for today, so if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future topics that interest you, let me know in the comments section below. Apologies for any mispronunciations, and I'll see you next time.